Okay, welcome everyone to the Pro Trader Room Plus and the 20-year auction. My name is Lee Goldstein, the trading director for 10-minute trades. Please remember, I'm not a financial advisor. All the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. All right, let me get my charts back up. All right, so we've got the 20-year 20-year auction. I'm just looking at some of the news. This has been a very, very difficult weekend news-wise. And it's amazing to me that the Dow is up over 400 points right now with what's going on in the world. It's like mind-boggling. I don't understand how this market can be up. It's a mystery, but it is up. Um, it seems very disconnected from what's going on in the world today, anyway. Um, there's nothing good about a war uh, in general. It's just not a good thing. But there's nothing we can do except try to trade these reports to the best of our ability. So the 20-year auction, let me show you the DMM and then we'll look at some recent videos. The DMM is, of course, the daily trade report. We have two ways we can trade this. Most of our members are trading prop, and half of the prop accounts, at least half the prop companies, do not allow for bond trading. I know that Apex doesn't allow it, Bullinox doesn't allow it, Lilu doesn't allow it. Take Profit Trader does allow it, and some of the new ones I think do allow it. But it is an issue if you do not have a cash account. You can't trade the bond reports. And if you want to know the truth, it's not so terrible because they've only had about one or two in the past 6 months have been worth trading, and virtually none of the 20 years have been worth trading. None of them. Um, we'll look at the video from last month. Let me just grab the videos. Give me half a second. I apologize. All right. Let's look at, so if you look at the daily market report, the daily market report shows us the quality of these events over the past 6 months. And it really, even after the tariff market started, we did not get a very good move in May. It was the best move in the past 6 months, but it was only 7 ticks. It's very difficult to make money when the bond report only moves 7 ticks. Okay? Hang on, there's been some scary sounding news. If I hear anything, I'll pass it along. So if you look at the May bond report, the 20-year, here's what it looked like. We have two setups. We have a YM setup, and that setup does a little bit better than the ZB or the ZN. All right, you can use ZN instead of ZB if you want to. It's half the risk, $15 roughly per tick, as opposed to 31 and a quarter. and our orders go on the chart 13:01:30, 101:30 Eastern Time. And let me get the right video. This is a video inside of a video. I want to look at May. There was quite a bit of bond volatility before the report. We thought we were going to get a much better move from the report because of the volatility. So our orders go on the chart 13:01:30, 101:30, because the bond auction generally moves the market a minute and a half after 1 o'clock. That's how it works. Sometimes it takes about 20 to 30 seconds after we put our orders on the chart. Same thing with the YM. The trick with the YM is to prevent it from being filled before the news comes out. Now, both the YM and bonds filled short last month. We were trading the YM in our prop account, and it hit the first target. And then we were able to trail a bit. That's the way I like to trade this report. And bonds were, you would have been able to get out of bonds with 1 or 2 ticks at the most. Keep in mind, we were looking at bonds in sim, and there's almost always at least 1 or 2 ticks of slippage on this report with ZB, and that often takes your profit. So you really have to think hard if you want to trade ZB on this report. I'm going to trade it with 1 contract in cash, and I'll show everybody how to do it with 1 contract. It's a 3 tick stop, so you're risking about $100. Do I think it'll have a great move? I'm not really thinking it'll have a great move. Okay, Iran has launched a whole barrage of missiles, is what we're hearing. All right, that was May. That was the only report in recent times that really it had a move that was tradable for a profit. That's in 6 months. The 20-year auction has been the worst of all of the auctions that we trade on the bonds. On the bonds. Um, so that's a strong reason why trading 1 contract is not terrible to do. There's always, now bonds are in a tight range right now. The ZB is in a very tight range. It's right in the middle of the highs and the lows for the day. And bonds are pretty quiet at the moment also. Right now I'm waiting. I'm looking at a 10-minute chart. And bonds are only 1 tick from where they were at the 6 p.m. open last night. There's just not been, it's hard to believe with all the news going on in the world that the markets are this calm. But they are. It is what it is. So let's say you want to try a 1 contract trade so that if there is a very big move or a good profitable move, that there would be a possibility to take advantage of it. So Nitin is saying, I thought Iran was freaking out, wanting a ceasefire. I'm surprised they're wanting to lob more missiles. What is this market up on? So they're saying in the news that those reports that they want to talk are fake. And it seems that that's true because they just launched a new wave of ballistic missiles towards Haifa. So I'm not going to talk politics today. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. It's too incendiary at the moment. We'll just try to trade this report thinking there might be some sort of a move. So our normal setup assumes two positions, okay? But I'm going to trade just one in our cash account. And our activation time, it's a breakout trade. Our activation time is 13:01:30. 13:01:30. The bracket is 3. It's a small little bracket. Not 312, 3. I'm not going to use two targets. I'm going to use one target and one position. So position 1 is a 1, and my profit target 1 is going to be 10. Now, do I expect it to move 10 ticks on this news? I really do not. And then everything below the 10 is 0 until we get to the stop. The stop is 3. And then you can ignore everything else until you get to move the stop, break even X ticks if market moves X ticks. So we have two fields here. So should the market move 5 ticks in my favor, if the market should move 5 ticks in my favor, I'm going to move the stop to break even plus 3. That's going to happen automatically. So if the market moves 5 ticks and then changes direction, my stop will be plus 3. So if it changes direction enough to hit that stop, with 1 or 2 ticks of profit, and then keeps going, then it's possible it could hit my target of 10. But that way, I'm not waiting for a 10 target. If the market goes 5, I'm going to try to lock in a couple of ticks. Okay? No, you're okay, Nitin. That was fine. I don't mind if people say what's on their mind. I really don't. I don't think we're going to do a, yes, this person, no, that person, but this politics affects us. And if they're sending missiles, then, this could affect the trade. So it's got to be mentioned. All right? I'm just sorry. I'm just looking at news to see what's going on. So that's what we know so far. So let me go over this setup one more time. Going to activate the trade at 13:01:30. Bracket is 3. One position. Position 1 is a 1. Target at 10. Stop loss is 3. All right. And then if the market moves 5 ticks, we're going to move the stop to break even plus 3. And I'm going to call that bonds. I'm not doing anything else in bonds, so I'm labeling it bonds. And I am going to trade it in our cash account, even though I've been trading lousy today. My cash account has taken a hit from the NOPA. I've no one but myself to blame, and that is what it is. Let me leave the charts on sim for a minute, and we're going to check our bracket, right? We're going to check our bracket. We're going to look at the strategy. For a moment, we'll put the time on 0. Time is on 0. All right. I do want to welcome everybody on YouTube that's watching us. Thank you for coming. I put the time on 0. Make sure my charts are on sim. All right, for a moment. And then when I enable the breakout trade, as soon as bonds move, it will calculate the bracket. All right. It does need bonds to move. Okay, so I just want to make sure our bracket is manageable. I can't manage a trade where the brackets are like that. Okay? That's all I'm doing. I'm just managing the bracket so I can cancel it cancel it in the enabled box, go back to the strategy, right click the chart, and now put our time the way it's supposed to be, 13:01:30, and choose the account you're trading in. Most prop accounts aren't going to let you trade this in prop. Some of them will, but Bullinox, Apex, Lilu is a no at the moment. But I'm going to trade one position in my cash account. All right, now we're going to also set up our YM trade. Oops. Let me also get the news up so we see what the bond auction results are. Come on. You know, sometimes Windows is so frustrating. So I'm using investing.com to look at the 20-year bond auction results. Usually with investing.com, they get released in real time, and we can see what they are. And I don't need an MNQ chart, so we can put the news results right here. So we've got our ZB breakout trade ready to go. And then we also have a YM breakout as well, and I'll trade that in one of my prop accounts. So right click the chart to strategies, double click news trader. It's a breakout. We're going to trigger the trade also at 13:01:30. Our bracket, right now it's 10. I don't want to use anything bigger. I prefer 8 if I can get away with it. Right now it's 10, and my first target is 12. My second target is 25. Position 1 is a 1, position 2 is a 1. That just simply means one contract on each position. If it hits my first target, I'll move my stop to BE minus 5, and our stop is 20. And I will leave everything on sim for the moment. It'll be called Breakout YM, labeled. And I want to test the brackets just like we did with the bond breakout. So I need to make sure my time is set to 00, not 13:01, right? 00 or 0 for the first number. When I apply and when I enable a 0 time trade, I get brackets. Now, very often the YM fills in the direction of the bond move on this trade, especially if it's a good move. But the YM sometimes can fill too soon, so you can press the adjust button to keep the bracket centered. And it is an art to use that adjust button, because you want to try to avoid pressing it at the exact moment the trade starts moving. And there's no way to know. It's sort of like an art of just adjusting your brackets before the news. So you want to use the adjust button as little as possible. It's not something you just want to press over and over and over like a crazy person. It is something you want to be careful with. Now, sometimes what happens is you could press the button just as the trade is starting to move, and instead of being able to take advantage of that early move, you've recentered the brackets and left some of the profit in the bracket. That's the downside of the adjust button. the upside is many times it will keep you safe before the news affects the market. But it really is a little bit of an art to dealing with it. And no one, it's hard to get it right all the time. It's tricky. So we have a 1301.30 time trigger, bracket at 10, targets of 12 and 25, and a stop at 20. And I will trade it in number 15, I think I'll use. Apply it, okay it. So I have to choose, make sure my chart trader is on the same chart. And now I can enable it. And let's look at what happened in April on this trade. And I did forget one thing. 1301.30, the orders go on the chart. You could see 10 seconds pass, 15 seconds pass, no movement. It was pretty quiet in April. 25 seconds, nothing. Now, generally with the bond move, there's a burst. And usually when the bond trade works the best, it bursts and hits your first target. If there's no burst at all, and we're pretty certain the news has been released, I will not hesitate to cancel the bond trade. The YM usually has a move. It usually does move. See, in April, we canceled bonds. Now, I might have heard in my headset using Financial Juice Pro that the news was out. And if that happens, I will cancel bonds if there's no move. And I canceled YM too because there just was not much of a move in April. It's just the way it is. Now, I do like to set up a reverse continuation on the YM with one contract for a move after the report. Sometimes, on most reports, we set up a reverse continuation because it's nice to have an opportunity to go back into the market to catch a trend if a trend gets created, which does happen. So I'm just using one position, a 25 tick target and a 25 tick stop. That's all I'm doing. I'm going to label it YM REV, and I'm going to trade it in the same account as the breakout, because if the breakout ends, that's when I'm looking at an opportunity to possibly get back in. So just checking. So I can enable that trade by clicking the enabled button. And then what that does is gives me my long and instant short buttons. Um, so wait, Frank, that was his opening setup, I thought, Frank. That was his opening setup with the NQ, I thought, right? YM. Wait, what did he say on that one? Nitin, what instrument was that on your New York Open? Was that YM? NQ on your YM on your Open? Okay, thanks. All right, so we've got 3 minutes till 1 o'clock. And then a minute and a half after that, we should see some response to the bonds. Hang on. Looking to see if there's any other news. All right, just waiting now. We've got about 3 minutes and 30 seconds is really when I expect something to happen from the auction. And like I said, we have not seen great results from the 20-year. We just haven't. So if there's not a pop on the bonds, I might be prone to canceling the part of the trade. And then the YM, okay, YM has some volatility. So 1 o'clock, there's information about the auction that gets released. So just so people see some of the tools we use, investing.com, we like to watch them release the news. And very often they release it before we're in a trade. All right. I think they are expecting for this auction to be under 5%. Brian, okay, so Brian, are you saying that if a person uses Chrome to run the trade room, Chrome will give you captions? I didn't think of that. Is that what you're saying, Brian? Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. All right, 1301.30. Our orders go on the charts. Okay. Now I will use adjust on the YM to try not to get filled early. If, see, right now it's 2 ticks away, 3 ticks away. I'm centering the bracket. I just centered it. It's 4 ticks. Now it's back to the middle. I'm trying not to press it now because we're 20 seconds out of the news already. The market knows the news in a second or two. My tendency now is not to press the button, and we're close to current price. We're close to current price. Okay, there's been no burst on this news. Canceling bonds, canceling bonds, canceling YM. I don't want to trade if it's not going to burst on me. So I'm canceling. Bonds should have been canceled. YM, sometimes you get a later move. I canceled YM. My concern is world news is overshadowing a 20-year bond auction, which is the worst of all the bond auctions in terms of the response. Okay? So I'm turning off my breakouts. And the YM's just chopping around. I'm feeling like I made the right decision. All right? I'm feeling like I made the right decision here. Normally we get a move right before the news comes out. Now look, of course, you could do what Ray does. I don't know if Ray's here. Ray likes to sit in the trade even after I cancel, and he's had some nice winners by doing that. But I have my rules, the way that I do it, and that's how I'm doing it today. And I certainly do respect Ray's patience. Sometimes I will miss a good event because I tend to be a little bit conservative with no response cancellations. And this report, I'm telling you the history of the bond portion of it. If it doesn't burst, it's usually not a good trade to get filled on. So I don't want to get filled. And I'm right. I mean, it didn't move. There was no fill on bonds. It would be canceled now no matter what. And even YM, really, it's just chopping around. There's been nothing really to do. All right, everyone. Before everybody stick around for a minute, I want to thank everyone on YouTube. Appreciate you watching us. Hit the like button. We'll be streaming a couple more times this week. Hit the notification bell also so you know when we're streaming again. And I'll see everybody later on YouTube.